Hello there, BookTube. My name's Daniel. Welcome back to my channel, Guilty Feet. You walked into the party like you were walking onto a yacht. I've got no rhythm. And today I'm going to do my annual put down of the Booker Longlist with love. I was for many years very committed to the Booker Prize. I don't think I ever read the full long list, but there have been years where I read the short list before everyone was talking about the long list and getting excited about these things. I'm at a point in my life now where I use book prizes for what is most useful to me, which is as discovery engines. But I find that the process of predicting the long list and how wrong everyone has been to be kind of funny. And I just, I want everyone to feel good about not having to read 13 books, some of which are going to be frustrating reads or not in your wheelhouse, and all the while commending the Booker Prize for what it does in surfacing books for different people and giving people choice. So that's me. I will be doing some of this while I'm talking, because I've got my laptop set behind me. My phone is resting on my laptop, and I've got some tabs open where I can look up books. I will be pausing rather than editing bits in. So pause looks like this. I'm back with my head slightly a different angle, but it's just, this is instead of what I normally do, which is talk right through, but I'll go and get books, previous examples of books by an author I've read, or to illustrate why I am or am unlikely to read a book, am likely, or am not likely, or am likely, or am unlikely. Reasons why I may or may not read the book that's currently longlisted. Let's start with this whole thing. Okay, and this year, and I don't think this was the case last year, this year the Booker Prize website has listed the books in alphabetical order by author's name, which is how I file my books, so I appreciate that. But I think last year was a little more chaotic, if I remember. So the first up is The Shadow of the Object by Chloe Aridgis. And I will point out that I will use my usual criteria for judging whether or not a book is good, is how memorable and useful the title is, the memorability and usefulness of the author's name, and the number of pages in the book, and the price. So I've got open amazon.co.uk and amazon.com, and I will be looking at how much it would cost you to purchase the book currently from Amazon. Not everyone wants to buy from Amazon, but that's where, if you want to get books for the best price, usually I will arbitrage and have sites open. I had a look for most of these on eBay, and I don't think I found versions that were cheaper, although in one particular case I've already purchased a book for less than they're offering it on Amazon. So let's start with Chloe Aridgis. Great name, a Mexican-American novelist. This is not a poet, which is daughter of a poet and diplomat. I think he was the ambassador from Mexico to the Netherlands at some point. That's her father, and so she grew up around poets, boys, and all sorts of people. And she has a PhD. I love this. This is my favorite fact about Chloe Aridgis, who I'd never heard of until about half an hour ago. She has a doctorate in 19th century French poetry and magic. As if these two were separate subjects that she has chosen to merge, French poetry and magic, from the University of Oxford. So that's certainly her favour. Born in 71, she's a little bit younger than me, and she's written several novels, but I confess to have never having heard of Chloe Aridgis. Aridgis, I don't know how to pronounce, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce Mexican-American last names, but someone put me right. And this is The Shadow of the Object, coming in 192 pages. We love a short novel, and I note a lot of the books on this long list are in that under 250, certainly under 300 page sweet spot, which is promising. That you'll see a couple of the ones that I instantly reject fall beyond those parameters. But at 192 pages, you can take a chance on an author. I'm not sure I will in this case. The book itself, I don't like the background cover of the UK edition. What's the US edition also has got that same sort of dark lilac background colour, which I'm not loving. The UK edition and the US edition both have, it seems to me, or maybe this is the same picture, but they've got a cover blurb by Deborah Levy, who is a bit Marmite for some people, or what's the American equivalent of Marmite? Some people, you either love her or you don't. I've had good experiences with Deborah Levy, but my mother-in-law, for example, who I lent a couple of her books to, really didn't get on with her at all. In the UK, you can get hold of a copy of The Shadow of the Object for £16 and 97 shiny new pennies. In the US, it's in hardcover, $24.85. I'm not sure I'm going to pull the trigger on Chloe Aridgis, but it's a strong mid chance for me. If I saw this cheaply, I might, because 192 pages, it's hard to go wrong. That is an afternoon's reading. So even if it's, if this makes the shortlist, it's something that I might pick up, but not high on the list for now. Let's move on. Next on the list is Switzerie by Emma Cline. Now, I thought there was a whole, Switzerie is not out yet, coming out in September, both in the US and the UK. I thought they'd made a change to the rules. Ben Reedsgood did a whole video about how Booker was changed the rules so this wouldn't happen again, that when the long list was announced, that books would be available. Or maybe that's only starting next year. I don't know. Go back. Really, if you have any interest in book prizes, Ben Reedsgood did a really terrific video on this. But it seems like this has not helped with Emma Cline's book, Switzerie, which I'm super looking forward to. It's been in my basket for a while because I know it's not coming out till September. But I'm all in on Emma Cline. I read her debut novel, The Girls, when it came out, that year that I was a member of the Book of the Month Club in the US. And this is like 2016, I got this. And love this. I think this is one of the strongest debuts. I'll put this up there with Eliza Clark in the UK. Emma Cline, EC, maybe there's an EC thing going on. But I loved The Girls. It's so strong. It's a sort of a Manson-esque cult. And it's about both the power and lack of power that teenage girls exude, but then have, it's really shocking, but a deeply political feminist view of young adulthood. Really good. I love The Girls. I did not read her short story collection, which I'd like to get to. I'm sure I could find that super cheap somewhere because nobody buys short story collections. But she had a short story collection called Daddy, which, maybe the title creeped me out and I put me off reading it, but I didn't read that. But then the next novel came out, The Guest, which I bought half price. You can see it's got the half price sticker, so I would have got that in the UK half price. So full price, this was $18.99, so I got this for £9.50 Christmas 23 when I was visiting my mum in London, and loved The Guest as well. So I had Switzerie on my radar. I was definitely going to read it whatever happens. I'm excited that it's on this long list, even though it hasn't come out yet. So coming out in September in the UK, where Amazon has it at £18 4pence, it'll probably get discounted further before it comes out or after it comes out. In the US, they've listed it currently at $28, discounted from $32. Again, these things, depending on how it does, they might increase the print run and they might lower the price depending on the demand. But I'm all in on Emma Cline and looking forward to reading Switzerie next. Next on the list is Helen of Nowhere by McKenna Goodman. And this is intriguing to me. So this is comes in at a reasonable, come on, funny when you go to the Kindle version, it doesn't tell you how many pages. Coming in at 168 pages, published in the UK by Fitzcarraldo. Now, this is what's interesting to me is published in January of 2026 by Fitzcarraldo. This was actually published in the US in September 2025, published by Coffee House Press in paperback. So there's been no hardback edition, as far as I can tell, either in the US or UK, of Helen of Nowhere. I love Fitzcarraldo editions, although I really like the cover of this US edition. I wonder sometimes Fitzcarraldo gets an opportunity to publish books that other publishing houses don't want, because for an author to agree to having no other distinguishing feature on the cover and just that standard Fitzcarraldo blue cover, it strikes me as, although I love Fitzcarraldo covers and I like collecting those books, I'm not sure it'd always be the author's first choice. So the fact this was published in the US and didn't have a UK publisher, and then I don't know what the chronology of these things are, but that's interesting to me. So in the UK, currently, this is £12.99 in that Fitzcarraldo navy blue paperback. In the US, you can pick this up for $14.10. So that's a great, for 141 pages. So very readable, very doable. This is in my basket. My wife is traveling to the States to visit our friends, for work, but then she's going to be with our friends in Connecticut in about 2 to 3 weeks' time. And I am going to be sending them a copy of this book for her to bring home for me, because it looks interesting. It's 140 pages. What do we know about McKenna Goodman? Okay, slightly red flag in the way that she spells the name McKenna. That is Makenna, so no MCK, no Makenna. McKenna, really? Grew up in Colorado, according to this. My favorite fact, and this is an absolute fact because it has it in Wikipedia. Goodman is married and has multiple children. So that's nice. She lives in Vershire, Vermont. Vershire? That's a place. Okay, this is the debut novel was titled A Shame, and then this is Helen of Nowhere, has her second novel. And looking forward to this, definitely going to buy this, and 140 pages, can't go wrong. Looking forward to Helen of Nowhere by McKenna, spelled oddly, Goodman. Next on the list is The End of Everything by M. John Harrison. Mr. Harrison, first of all, M. John Harrison. John Harrison, too dull. M stands for Michael. Michael Harrison, too dull. Michael John Harrison sounds like a political assassin. We can't really win, but he's been doing this long enough that it shouldn't matter. M. John Harrison is coming to the end of a very distinguished, well, maybe he should live another 40 years, but this is a man in his 80s, at the end of a very long, distinguished career in science fiction. I know nothing about M. John Harrison because it's not really stuff that I've read before, but it's had some interesting reviews. It's 208 pages. It's published in the UK by Serpent's Tail for £15. I can pick it up in the UK for £38. In America, they've got this coming out only in October, and the hardcover is currently listed at $30. I just, occasionally Booker likes to memorialize a writer late in their career. We saw a couple of years ago, Alan Garner was nominated for Treacle Walker, which I actually loved. I can't imagine myself picking up M. John Harrison's The End of Everything. The title's a bit clunky as well, a bit on the nose for a science fiction book, if that's what it is. Very rarely do these late career acknowledgements actually turn into anything. Did Gloria Stewart win in Titanic? Maybe. When Paul Newman was finally given an Oscar in The Colour of Money, age 60, didn't even bother to turn up, which was fair because Bob Hoskins should have got it for Mona Lisa. But I don't imagine M. John Harrison blurbed on the cover, of course, by China Miéville. I'm not sure he's going to make it to the long list or to the short list or beyond. So it's here. I don't know. I'm going to read it. Let's see what else there is. Next up, alphabetically, we have The Disappearers by Marlon James. It's not a great title, The Disappearers. Hard to remember, hard to type. Marlon James, my history of Marlon James is I read a brief history of 7 Killings, which probably the word brief could be scratched out of that. But, good enough read. I read this that summer of 2015. I remember my memory of reading this is we were staying in a bed and breakfast in the wonderful city of Bath, and my mother drove from London and spent the weekend with us. And we had a lovely sunny weekend in Bath, beautiful city, a bookish city. And I think I finished this there. And I have good memories of it. For a plotty book, it was very dense. I think if you're going to be plotty, then you probably need to be a bit zippier. And that's kind of put me off reading other Marlon James since then. So I know he started this sort of fantasy, is it a trilogy or certainly a series, the Red Leopard Wolf, whatever it is. And Jeff O'Neill on Book Riot has coined the phrase O'Neill's razor, where he won't start a series until he knows the author has finished it. It kind of has informed my decision not to start that Red Leopard, whatever the title of that book is. And I think the second one is out, but didn't get nearly as much notice as the first one, and I imagine it'll rise up again in everyone's consciousness when if he ever finishes that. But this new one, The Disappearers, slightly less chunky. It's 420 pages odd, so not quite as chunky as maybe some of the other books. In the UK, they're selling it at £19. In the US, at $29 for the hardcover. Well, it hasn't come out yet in the US, only on September 1st. In the UK, also only out in September, according to this. So that's interesting. That's the second book that I've seen so far that doesn't seem to yet be available. I just don't think I'm going to read another Marlon James at the moment, sorry, but feel free to. Next up is Black Bag by Luke Kennard. So Black Bag, not a great title for a book. Luke Kennard feels a bit like a youth pastor. In fact, Luke Kennard is a seemingly well-respected poet, a critic. He's had a previous novel, but mostly since 2005, he's been publishing, I believe, poetry collections. Poets transitioning into novelists and not been super successful in my experience. I guess with the exception of Ocean Vuong's On Earth We Are Briefly Gorgeous, which is a fantastic novel, but I think it's a hard transition, or at least for me, I haven't found it successful as a reader. Say Black Bag is not memorable. I'm not sure I'm going to read this. Let's look at what we're talking about in terms of the novel itself. How many pages have we got here? 400 pages, really, Luke? Really? Because when you write poetry, you don't publish anything that's 400 pages long, do you? Or if you do, you wouldn't publish it very often. Blurbed on the cover, it says the funniest and smartest novel I've read in a while, Zadie Smith. So that's a point in its favor. Love Zadie Smith. Black Mark is funny. I'm not a big fan of funny novels. It's a campus novel, according to The Observer. Campus novels written by people who spend most of their time on campuses rather than people remembering their time on campus. I'm guessing if you're a poet, you're mostly an academic. Sorry, apologies, that's a poor assumption, Luke. A triumph of deadpan comedy, wrote the Sunday Times. So comedy, but deadpan comedy. I think I can skip Black Bag. You can pick it up in the UK for £16.67, which seems steep. The US, it's available now for $20.34 from Amazon. Not on my starter reading list. Let's see what else there is. Next up is The Renovation by Keenan Orhan. A good enough title. Renovation is kind of mundane, but actually intriguing. What's being renovated? Keenan Orhan, great name. A Turkish-American writer, I believe, living in Kansas. So that's intriguing. I think this is a first novel. The Guardian has it as one of the top 10 debuts of 2026. I don't know how you know that we're only halfway through the year. 256 pages. That's interesting. Available in the UK for £15.60. Available in the US at $14.15. I'm talking about Amazon. Published by FSG in America. Published in the UK by Hamish Hamilton. So good backing. This is a debut novelist, but a serious house behind it, putting it out there. I actually found a copy of this at the Advanced Book Exchange, abe.com, for $11, including shipping. So this has already been sent to my friends in Connecticut. My wife would pick it up for me because I like the look of this. 256 pages is doable, and I've already pulled the trigger on a copy of this for less than I found it on Amazon, and I'm excited about that. So yes to The Renovation by Keenan Orhan. What's up next? Next is May We Feed the King by Rebecca Perry, and a sort of ambiguous title, May We Feed the King. There's no question mark, so it's not May We Feed the King, or it could be announcement, May We Feed the King, i.e. what do we do as spring turns into summer? We go and we feed the king, by Rebecca Perry, kind of nondescript author name. Best thing about this is both in Amazon UK and Amazon US, at least has the same book cover. Winner of the Waterstones Debut Fiction Prize. That's kind of interesting, although I don't really trust Waterstones. They're in the business of selling books, not necessarily. So they pick winners that are going to shift more units. But at the bottom here, it says, enchanting, ... a rare achievement. And that is blurbed by Claire Louise Bennett. I love Claire Louise Bennett. I'm all in Claire Louise Bennett ever since her first collection, Pond, and then a follow-up, Checkout 19, which is a novel, and then most recently she was back with Fitzcarraldo for a kind of novel which I didn't love as much, but really like Claire Louise Bennett. So the fact that she's standing for Rebecca Perry is certainly in Ms. Perry's favour. That slightly ambiguous title. How many pages have we got here? Let's have a look. It won't tell you if you're looking at the Kindle version, although it should tell you if you're looking at the hardcover version. See full details. No. Okay, let's try in the UK. 272 pages. Good enough. Good enough, Rebecca. I like the name Rebecca. Just Perry's. I don't know. Rebecca Perry. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Perfectly fine as a author name. But May We Feed the King is one of those things that you're not going to remember, like the title of the last Ian McEwan novel, which I loved. What Will We Know? Whatever it was. Maybe that was it. But terrible title. May We Feed the King. Not loving it. 270 pages, fine. Claire Louise Bennett in its favour. I don't think this is going to be one of my first pickups, but we'll see. What's next? Next up on the list is The Palm House by Gwendolyn Riley. I've read one previous Gwendolyn Riley book called My Phantoms, and I love this. Read this in hardback in December or at least I picked it up December 2022. Really loved My Phantoms. This was, how many pages is this? This is under 200 pages. The Palm House, I believe, is 224 pages, but I'm excited about this now, where it's available. So you can get this in the UK in hardcover for currently £12.76. So that's discounted 25% off the cover price of £16.99. That means if I held out till Christmas, I could probably pick that up half price at £8.50, which is very good. In the US, it's currently available for $15.64, but that is in paperback because in the US, Ms. Riley is published by the New York Review of Books. So no hardback release in the US, but straight into paperback. But I love the NYRB paperbacks. I've got Stoner, I think was one of the first ones. I have Joshua Cohen's The Netanyahu's. As much as I love Fitzgeraldo, I picked that up in the NYRB edition, and they're very tactile. They're terrific feeling paperbacks. So I'm actually going to pull the trigger and buy this and have this sent to my friends in Connecticut because I want to read the new Gwendolyn Riley. Also, yesterday afternoon, my wife and I drove to Jerusalem. Traffic was horrific for a book event at the National Library. So we had a fun evening. But on the way there, we were listening to the Backlisted podcast, where they were talking about the books they were in the summer. And one of the ones they discussed was the, what's it called? The Palm House. I don't know why that title. Well, I didn't know why My Phantoms was called My Phantoms. And Andy Miller also said he didn't understand why the Palm House was called the Palm House. But all three of the presenters of Backlisted had all read the Palm House and were raving about it and raving about Gwendolyn Riley as well as an author. So I've only read one of hers, but I'm excited to read this, and I probably should read more of her work. So yeah, I'm definitely down for the Palm House, and I will be ordering it and having it sent to my friends in Connecticut. What's next? Next on the list is The Things We Never Say by Elizabeth Strout. Here's where I'm at with Elizabeth Strout. Many years ago, turns out in 2010, so 16 years ago, I read Olive Kitteridge, which won the Pulitzer Prize, which is the ultimate collection of short stories camouflaged as a novel. And I loved it. Loved Olive Kitteridge, loved this collection, and was very excited to read more Elizabeth Strout, to the extent that I bought My Name is Lucy Barton when it came out, which I believe is the first Lucy Barton book, and was like, really? Said, well, okay, well, I don't need to read any more Elizabeth Strout. And then Olive Again came out, so I thought, well, I liked Olive Kitteridge, so I'll read Olive Again and enjoy that. But and now I know that the Barton and Kitteridge universes have merged into one universe to bind them all, and I'm kind of done with it. I haven't read any of the other Lucy Barton books. I understand that The Things We Never Say, again, just one of these titles that how is anyone ever going to remember? That fabulous Elizabeth Strout book, the something that we never, just terrible. Why is no one saying you've got to come up with something that is actually a phrase or a few words together that actually are surprising or interesting or exciting, or that jump off the shelf and say, I've got to read that. The Things We Never Say. Olive Kitteridge, 2 words you've never seen put together before. You don't know what they mean. That's a book. That's a book title that you can remember. Even Olive Again after Olive Kitteridge. My Name is Lucy Barton, really. Anyway, I'm not going to read The Things We Never Say. Elizabeth Strout doesn't need my patronage. She's beloved and well read, and this is a standalone, which I think is clever to do after you've done a few books that are interlinked. I think page count wise, it's within acceptable parameters. It's 208 pages. What could be better than that? But I'm not going to buy this in hardback. In the UK, they're selling it at 26p off in Amazon UK, £13.98, so £14. In the US, they're selling it at $24.48, so that's down from $29. So that's a bigger chunk of change. And say Elizabeth Strout does not need me, and I don't think I need The Things We Never Say. Next on the long list is John of John by Douglas Stewart, and this is a classic. It's not you, it's me. I have managed thus far to avoid reading Douglas Stewart, and my understanding of the reaction that people have to his books is that I'm in the wrong. That not just it's not just misery porn. It's not just desperately sad stories of unhappy people and unfulfilled people. There is magic and beauty there. But when Shuggie Bain came out, it was just like, 500 plus pages, and I just did not have the mental energy for it when what's the next one? Young Mungo came out. I hadn't read Shuggie Bain, and I heard great things, and great that it's still alone, and great as a follow-up. And I think he followed, Shuggie Bain won the Booker, and I think while he was still on that high, Young Mungo came out to satisfy those people who'd love that book, and I avoided that as well. And John of John's come out, and before it came out, it was anticipated. Since coming out, it's been picked by Oprah. It's been probably of all the books in all the Longlist guesses that people put together and published before this, that might have been the only consistent one among them all. And here it is showing up on the long list. And I get it, and he may be a great writer, and in the same way that I've been all in on some authors that others might have slept on, I just can't see myself climbing on the Douglas Stewart bandwagon, but I get it that it's me. This book, I think, is about 420 pages, so that's less chunky than maybe earlier works. So maybe if you're going to start with Douglas Stewart, do you still have to go back to Shuggie Bain, or would this be an appropriate place for a first Douglas Stewart book? I don't know. I just don't think it's going to happen for me anytime soon with Douglas Stewart, unless I'm stuck at some point and I can't get any books and I find them in a little free library somewhere, and I think, you know what, this is the one of the downsides of being a mood reader, is that I just have not found myself in the last 10 years being in the mood for the magic, the undoubted magic that Douglas Stewart is sprinkling everywhere. Haven't been in that place. But yeah, definitely, it's not you, it's me. Next up is a book called All Them Dogs by an Irish writer, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Jamel White. Djamel is how his first name is written here. An Irish writer that I'm familiar with. This may be his first novel. A lot of positive reviews in the Irish press when this came out earlier this year, although all of them talk about Jamel White being a tall, slim man with tattoos. I'm guessing in the Irish literary world, having tattoos is still considered edgy. He got his MFA from University College Dublin, which is fine. I mean, it's not Trinity. And this seems like an interesting, calling it a neo-noir set in Dublin. It has a queer element to it, which is interesting, and I'm guessing, again, challenging to the Irish literary establishment, still in 2026. So kind of interesting. But now here's the thing, which I don't understand. Someone must do a look at these things. Why this book has been priced the way it has. So in the UK, we saw some books that were listed at a cover price of $16.99, but you can get them for $12.99 already on Amazon UK. This published already in March, so 3 or 4 months ago, and the paperback cover price is £18.99. So why this was more expensive? And this is 240 pages. It's not bigger, not more raw materials. $18.99, and it's available now for $18.62, so not discounted either terribly much. What's that, 30p off? In the US, the hardcover is currently $19.89, so I guess pounds, it has been cheaper. This is listed at $29 and discount on Amazon.com at $19.89. For 256 pages, it's got a blurb on it from Marlon James, Anne Enright, which is in its favour. And then describe a young Irish gangster is caught in a brutal dance between desire and loyalty. Yeah, I mean, again, at that price, I'm not going to take a chance on it. If I saw this, found a proof copy, if I saw this cheaper on eBay, maybe if it makes the shortlist, maybe I would pick it up. But right now, I'm keeping my powder dry. The last book in the Booker dozen, the 13th on the long list, is a book called The Vivisectors by an author called Missouri Williams. Well, that's everything I've been looking for. The Vivisectors, really great title, and I'm not a big fan of the cover of the book. Let's have a look if the US cover is different. That's the UK cover. The US cover is considerably different. It says it's a campus novel, I think, but it looks like this is going to be an interesting book. A book to admire, perhaps more than I would enjoy. 288 pages, that's, doable. But I love the name Missouri Williams, and so I wanted to find out about Missouri, redolent of the American South and rich, juicy name. And Missouri Williams is a pen name. Her real name is Heather Williams, and she's English. Nothing against pen names. Go live your best life, Heather. Missouri Williams is a great. If you're going to pick a pen, look. I wish Luke Kennard had chosen a pen name. He could have been, I don't know, Mississippi Kennard. Missouri Williams is a great pen name. From her Wikipedia page, these are the facts that I like about Missouri Williams. Is that in 2015 she wrote and directed the play King Lear with Sheep, which was, see if you can work this out without me telling you. Okay, I'll tell you, it's a retelling of King Lear with sheep. So I love that for her. A previous work was The Deloriad, which was compared with William Faulkner. It received the Republic of Consciousness Prize. I don't know enough about what books that win that prize, but again, I want to admire this author. I'm not sure I want to read her. In an interview with Tri-Quarterly, Williams' style was compared with that of Laszlo Krasznahorkai, the recent Hungarian Nobel Prize winner that none of you have read, and nor I. So again, not sure how encouraging a comparison that is. So I love that there's a book called The Vivisectors. I love that there's an author called Missouri Williams. I wish her all the best. I hope she gets through to the shortlist and that everyone has to read The Vivisectors by Missouri Williams. I'm not sure I will. And that is my roundup. So let's have a look at where we got. Out of the 13 books, I think I counted 4 that I definitely am going to read. That's Switzerie by Emma Cline, Helen of Nowhere by McKenna. I don't know why you spelled your name that way, McKenna Goodman. The Renovation by Keenan Orhan, and The Palm House by Gwendolyn Riley. I'm probably not going to read, M. John Harrison's The End of Everything, Marlon James' The Disappearers, terrible name, Elizabeth Strout, Anything, and John by Douglas Stewart, and then the other books, Black Bag, The Shadow of the Object, maybe. I think it's an intriguing list. I think there have been years before where we've been bored stiff just by the books on the long list. I think this has something for a lot of different people. I think maybe it's just me noticing, but I feel like there's a lot of books coming in under 300 pages and coming in under 250 and 200 pages, which is just a great way to get people to try things. I wish books weren't as expensive as they were, or that everyone would send them to me for free, but we're not there. So that is you don't have to read it. You don't have to read the long list. Read what you like what you read. Take care. God bless. Bye.